that. I look at the history, because the history will tell you a lot. For instance, I grew up in church, and you say the I believe. And realizing that the I believe was written at the Council of Nicaea, 325 AD. He was born again. He rose again on the third day. He rose again in accordance with the scriptures. Was decided at the council at Nicaea, that was headed by Constantine, with the scholars of Christianity that were there, and they were debating that. They didn't know the actual day of Easter. They were debating it, two sides. So you start to go to the history side, but also the stories in the Old Testament, the stories in the Bible. There's a lot of similarities between the Egyptian mythology, the Greek mythology.
Absolutely. And there's pagan rituals right through Catholicism and all of them. They've meshed in some of the old stuff as well that was there before to make it more palatable for when they conquered pagan civilizations. They would take in certain parts of their religion and incorporate it into,
of course,
to make it more palatable for them, to get them to convert.
Of course.
I mean, Ireland had its own histories, traditions, culture through the Celts. The Celtics. Before ever Christianity became part of Ireland.
Yeah. Well, there is a passage in the Old Testament or the New Testament where, when Christianity came in, they got rid of a lot of the Greek gods at the time. But there is an actual passage where Jesus confronts Hades to release all the souls. Now, the point is if you claim that he confronted Hades, that means it was a Hades.
It's more than one god.
Well, also one of the apostles was Greek. He understood Greek, so he grew up on the stories of Homer. And when you read some of the stories like the Odyssey, he was a son of a carpenter who had a Last Supper, who knew he was going to die the next day. He had to go find the blind prophet Tiresias. And you've got that similarity. You've got similarities between Heracles in the 12 labors, the 12 sufferings, and then being resurrected, seated at the right hand of his father Zeus in full thing. So you've got so many similarities.
Parallels, yeah.
When I was in Egypt, the birth of Hatshepsut, one of the greatest queens ever, when they talk about women's rights, she was a woman that ruled the world thousands of years ago. 3,000 years. I think it was 3,500 years ago. A woman ruled Egypt for 19 years, expanded its borders by trade, not warfare, and became one of the most successful queens. And her name was Queen Hatshepsut. Her birth was an immaculate conception that they had, the gods actually looked down on that and said, this is the queen that we need, Hermes, and we're going to pick her to be the mother. And the God of wisdom went down and said, you're going to be the mother of a great queen that was going to come.
That's a great story to get out of an unwanted pregnancy, isn't it?